New York Times political reporter Nick Confessore is here. So is senior political reporter at the HuffPost's, Amanda Terkel. Good to see both of you. Nick, you were out there in Park City this weekend. Romney insists he's not in. You believe that he's not in. So what then is gained by fueling this fire? Oh, get in. What's behind that?
This is a party without a dominant leader either in the White House or on the Hill. Romney was the last contender for the White House. This is a way of holding together the thing that he built, the campaign structure, the money, the donors, and to have that structure somehow have some influence going forward in the party and in the 2016 primaries.
Is Mitt Romney has he emerged as the de facto leader now of the GOP then?
I wouldn't say that, but he built the most successful fundraising machine in Republican presidential history. And in the early part of a campaign, what you have is pieces of that machine looking for a candidate to get behind. Whichever of these 2016 contenders can seize what he built will have a huge advantage in those primaries in a year and a half.
Who else was out there, and what else happened?
Well, we had Chris Christie out there. We had Mike Huckabee. Chris Christie gave a speech. He didn't talk much about the bridge scandal, but he was asked for it, and he said, "It's over, it's done with, I'm moving on." I'm not sure the donors are moving on. And in fact, I think now, at long last, after all these months, it has really taken its toll. I think a lot of these guys are now fishing around for somebody else, hence the Mitt Romney in 2016 talk.
Amanda, you know, Rand Paul was also out there in Park City, and as Nicholas just pointed out, so was Chris Christie. What does the draft Mitt message, what does it say to them specifically?
Well, I think the draft message is honestly a bit crazy. I mean, it wasn't even close in 2012, even though many Republicans thought it was going to be. And I think Democrats would love to run against Mitt Romney again. So I think Mitt Romney is very smart when he says that he is absolutely not running, and people should stop talking about that and should start focusing on a real candidate, whether it's going to be Rand Paul, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio. I mean, as Nick was saying, the Republican Party right now doesn't have a really obvious candidate or a really obvious leader for 2016, and they really need to start figuring that out. And part of it is the fact that the Republican Party right now is divided on a lot of issues like immigration and foreign policy.
Well, you mentioned division. GOP Chairman Reince Priebus, he says that there's not any sort of division among his party. This was CBS this week, and this was what he had to say about 2016. Take a listen.
You get the policy right all day long, but if you don't have a conduit in the community on a long-term basis, if you don't have Republicans and Hispanic and African-American and Asian communities talking about the Republican Party, our nominee, etc., for 4 years, not just 4 months, you're not going to improve in national elections.
All right, so there's an event later with Jeb Bush. Priebus will be there. Given what happened to Eric Cantor on the immigration issue, who is going to be the conduit? I mean, is it Jeb Bush, Amanda?
Jeb Bush appeals to a lot of people because he has been talking much more about immigration. He has actually been more moderate on some issues. But Priebus is you know, Republicans are saying there isn't any division, are just, I think, trying to spin. You have Rand Paul, who's a lot less hawkish on foreign policy than many members in his party. You have someone like Jeb Bush, who has really promoted the Common Core educational standards that are now upsetting a lot of Republicans across the country. Republicans are really trying to struggle not only to find their candidate, but to figure out where they are, whereas the Democrats, strangely, are a lot more unified, when usually Democrats are the sort of unorganized party.
Nick Confessore, really quickly here, Thursday, there's of course, the leadership election. What good for the Republican Party could come out of that?
That's a great question. I mean, you know, Priebus is saying there aren't any, divisions in the party. You know, a top leader in the party was just tossed out of Congress for trying to straddle the line on immigration, which is the one issue that matters most to the voters. The party as a whole wants to attract in 2016. That is a big problem. I'm not sure a lot of good comes out if a Tea Party member wins that position on Thursday.
One of the stories that I continue, the story I think that was lost in the whole Cantor thing, the polling. No major poll had it. The whole thing's still very bizarre to me that no one...
I'm not even sure anyone bothered to poll that race,
well,
which is the real, except for the campaigns themselves, right?
That's true. All right. Thank you so much, Nick Confessore, Amanda Terkel. Always appreciate you. A weekend political note here as well.